My boy over here is kind of sleepy. He's trying to figure out how come I'm still not going to bed. Well, I have to take you out for one last potty before you go to sleep. Alright, I'm going to get to the point of today's video. I'm going to tell you the 2 times that I almost gave up on my husky. Well, really, one time. Um, so when I first got him, he was 8 weeks old. And he was kind of dropped in my lap, so to speak. Now, I had dogs before, and my parents had dogs, so I kind of had this experience with well, they're smaller dogs, but I just know they're lots of work, right? You got to take care of them. It's pretty complicated. But as soon as I got him, he was 8 weeks old. Man, he was like as soon as I got him, I was like, I am not giving him back. Um, so if you get a new, you know, baby dog, you'll know what I'm talking about. They will pee and poop every hour or two. So for the first, I can't remember how long. It must be like at least 2 months. I think I was pretty much spending time with him day in and day out, right? So he was pretty much I was spending time with him pretty much 24/7, including at night. I remember sleeping in the living room with him, and every hour or so I would wake up and clean up the mess, clean up the feces and whatnot, because they stunk really bad. And not too long after, I started having trouble breathing. I was getting a rash all over me. Oh, hello. He likes to be sitting next to me. See, this is what he does. My good boy. Okay. I have to hold the phone with one hand and the mic with the other hand. For some reason, if I don't use the mic, um, the voice is too low. Anyway, um, so I started about within a week or so, I started to realize I was getting rash all over, and I was having a really hard time breathing. I thought I had asthma, so I went to see the doctors, and eventually they initially didn't figure anything wrong with me, and eventually they referred me to a allergy doctor, and then they did a bunch of prick tests on me, and they discovered that of all things, I'm actually allergic to doggy dander, which is this kind of some sort of oily substance that they secrete from their body, their skin. Um, so you know, um, that's why I was getting allergic to him, right? And bathing him also didn't help because, uh, apparently when you wash it off, it's kind of like it kind of triggers them to produce even more of that substance, which made it worse, at least for me. So, that was the first time I wondered, he's still kind of new, just settling in. He probably won't remember me if I give him up right now. But for some reason, I just couldn't because he was so cute. And I just felt bad, because I feel like I could take care of him. And I wasn't sure whoever I'm going to give him to. I just don't know if somebody else will take care of him as well. I don't know. Maybe just me being looking for an excuse to keep him. So I went through about a year and a half, roughly, of treatments. They put me on a really strong kind of allergy medication. your usual, antihistamine doesn't work. Uh, and I think that the stuff is called Singulair or something. Apparently, it's one of the stronger ones. I don't know. That's what I was told. And the same time, they put me on injections. So it's basically the idea is that they inject you with the substance that you are allergic to, working up from lower concentration all the way up to a higher concentration, so that over time you're actually built you're able to build up the tolerance towards whatever's making you allergic. At least that was the idea, and I don't think it worked 100% on me, but it definitely helped. So it got to a point when I finished the treatment. As you can tell, obviously I can breathe around him now, and I can hug him, I can play with him, no problem, right? And I also kind of, I'm also kind of lucky in the sense that uh, I, he doesn't really like to sleep next to me. He doesn't, he doesn't like being too close to me, for whatever reason. Um, I tried inviting him to sleep next to me and stuff like that when he was younger and smaller, um, a lot smaller. He always kind of, keep a healthy distance. I think it's because I'm too warm. Um, huskies don't really like to sleep hot. So, he'll follow me around, but when it comes time to sleep, he'll usually find, a corner somewhere. Especially when he was younger, he'll definitely find somewhere cooler, usually by the door or somewhere, whereas there's a cold draft or something. He used to prefer those spots. He doesn't anymore. I made another video actually testing out, whether he likes the cot or the bed. So far, the bed seems to be the winner. All right, so back to, you know, the one time I really seriously thought about potentially giving him up was when I got a new job. I had to go to the city, and it was very challenging to find an apartment, and I knew it was going to be very challenging. And in the city, and I had to. I've always had demanding jobs, so that was going to be a very demanding job. And also just knowing that it would be incredibly hard to find any place that would take him, right? Because a lot of apartments have breed restrictions. So, um, so these, you know, there's breed restrictions, and huskies tend to be on the list of restricted dogs. Um, and also, he's kind of chunky. I think he's just a little bit naturally bigger than most other huskies to begin with. And he's also a little bit chunky on top of that. So at one point, he was roughly pushing 80 something, almost 90 pounds. And so at that point, it was really challenging for me to find a place. Um, so, but more importantly, I just felt that he, he's going to be miserable living with me in an apartment. And I was trying to figure out, like, I cannot have him be in the apartment all day, you know, 12 hours, 8 hours a day is just not and at least not for me, right? Like for me, I feel like that's way too much. It's kind of, I don't want to put him in that position. Um, but I eventually decided to take him with me. Um, so we traveled across state, and um, and yeah, I actually managed to find a place right next to where I work, and I found a place that would take this guy, um, and it turned out to be pretty good. Um, so my thought on this is, I guess a lot of people might disagree with me. You know, I know some people might disagree with me and say, um, just give them up. They'll forget about you. They'll find some, happy family, and it'll be all good. They'll have a better life. Um, but I don't know. I've seen more than once in my life. I've seen, dogs hold on to their owners, even when their owners are on the street. Their family. Um, I really think, when you have a dog, I really think they love you unconditionally. And I think if you really try and you can take care of them, they don't ask for much. You know, all they need is some food, um, and access to somewhere to potty and some time with you. That's all they need, and a place to sleep. And usually, if you can sleep, they can sleep. Um, so I guess that's kind of my story. Um, there's a lot of struggles with him, um, because I work really long hours. I've always had pretty demanding jobs, but I made it work. Um, I always live either I had a opportunity to work remotely, or I always lived close enough to work, either walking distance, um, or within driving distance. So I always come home at lunchtime, to play with him and let him out, every single day, right? And if I need to work a little bit longer, um, I come home to check on him at maybe 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, and I go back to work. And that was kind of my routine for a long time. I really think that, um, consider keeping your dog. They're gonna miss you. I really think they're gonna miss you. Um, and they're gonna think that you abandoned them. So I just couldn't do it. Yeah, there's my story. I'm glad I kept him. Um, in hindsight, maybe wasn't really a serious consideration to give him up anyway. Um, yeah, just sharing my story. All right. Good night.